Hello and welcome. My name is Kevin Streater and I am the chair of the BCS Learning Development Specialist Group. In this session, we're going to look at CPD. What does good look like? So first of all, who needs CPD? Well, look at the CPD Standards Office. They suggest that anyone who is a member of a professional body, an institute or a membership association should be doing CPD. Anyone that works within a sector that is formally regulated, such as doctors or solicitors. Anyone who wants to maintain their current competency in a profession. Anyone who wants to demonstrate their compliance with professional ethical standards. So that list is a summary of pretty much anyone that is working in a professional field should be thinking about doing some form of CPD. So what are the benefits? Benefits of CPD is that it keeps your knowledge and skills up to date. It helps you to maintain professional standards, understanding of the qualifications and your professional registration, such as CITP. It's beneficial for your career advancement. If you can show that you've been continuously learning and taking on board new trends, new ideas, that's a huge value to employers. It helps you demonstrate that as an employer, you're helping your staff maintain their own professional skills, and you can help you standardize upon skills development across your organization. And it can help promote greater work engagement and commitment. By providing CPD to your staff, you can help them to feel more engaged with your organization. So at its core, CPD is about getting you to a level of competence initially, and then that allows you to perform a role. But what's important about getting to a certain level of competence is you need to maintain it. And maintaining your level of competence in a continuously changing world is a difficult thing to do. And that's where CPD comes in. It's important to keep your skills current, to keep yourself up to date, and you can demonstrate that by engaging with continuous professional development. And part of CPD is also helping to support others, helping others to learn, helping them to develop their skills. And certainly as you become more senior in an organization, CPD is something that you can demonstrate through helping others to engage, to become current and keep current. So it's not just about your own skills, it's about your organizations, and anyone else that you professionally work with. So a good example of this is the Chartered IT Professional certification. So with CITP, the first thing you have to do is demonstrate that you've reached a certain level of responsibility in your organization. And in the BCS terms, that's Sophia level 5. The description for level 5 gives you an idea of how much responsibility you should have. Once you've demonstrated that you've met that level and that you've got specialisms in certain areas that you can demonstrate, then the next stage is that you can demonstrate that you are maintaining your skills. And you can show that either through the work you're doing, through your professional practice, and CPD activities. That then gets validated by the certificate of current competence. So I was talking about getting current and staying current. Well, that's very much where the certificate of current competence will allow you to demonstrate that you are undertaking CPD and that you're demonstrating good learning, continuous learning through your professional career. And this maintains your validity as a chartered IT professional. So a very simple model that you can use, something that comes to mind from the ISO 27001 security world, information security, is the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. First of all, you've got to plan where you want to be competent. What do you want to be competent in? It might be a professional registration. It might be a certain skill area. So you can put that plan in place. Then you do it. You establish how you're going to get there. And at that point, you can validate that you've reached a certain level. It might be going for something like RIT Tech or CITP or professional industry qualification. But once you've done that, you then need to think about how are you going to check that you're at that level. So you put yourself forward for assessment by an organization or by an examining board, but something to validate that you have reached that level of competence. That will then, over time, demonstrate that you've got maybe some gaps developing or you need to continue learning. And then that's through the ACT stage. You start seeing that there are things you need to do to bring yourself back into competence. And that's an observation. And then you start the cycle again. So just the idea is a very continuous development cycle. CPD never stops. As soon as you've learned something, you need to go into a CPD cycle to maintain your knowledge in that area, or you might want to start developing in new areas. So slightly more complex table, but I found this very helpful to think about CPD in more detail. There are various models of CPD. So you could do CPD through just training. You could identify a standard or professional status. So as I was saying, CITP, chartered engineer, something like that is an award-bearing model that you want to achieve a certain award. The deficit model is performing and assessing some gaps and addressing those gaps. These are all transmission models. You've identified there's a gap, you undertake a piece of learning, you put yourself forward for professional recognition, and at the end of that, you get a recognition that you've achieved something. Then there's the next stage is the sort of the more transitional types of CPD. These might be involving around becoming an expert in a certain field like cybersecurity or DevOps or marketing. You might pick a particular field that you want to become an expert in. And that's where you look at the standards and you decide which standards you want to get yourself competent in. You can also engage in coaching and mentoring. That's where you have one-to-one sessions where you might just have a discussion with a peer or with an expert in the field. That's still CPD, that still counts. And actually engaging with industry experts is often a very good way of advancing your CPD after initial training. You can engage in communities of practice. This might be around a specialist domain. It might be around a particular industry sector. So, for example, in BCS, you can have things like the Advanced Programming Group, there's the Learning Development Specialist Group. Those specialist groups are communities of practice. It's practitioners, you share knowledge about what you're doing in your field, and that becomes a peer sharing model. Or the transformative model. The final type is much more engaged, it's more formalized, academic, really thinking about the CPD you're undertaking. A good example of this in my own case is I did my MBA with the Open University. The Open University does a lot of action research orientated learning, workplace learning, where you're putting your new knowledge into practice as you're doing it. And you can see the results and you can reflect on the results as you're undertaking the activities, but it's not just theoretical, these are real engagement in your organization and you can see the transformation that's occurring. So The final model is the transformative model. This is everything in CPD. A good CPD program that you might put together for yourself might involve all of these, but gives you an idea of the range of CPD activities that you could undertake. So what standards do you measure yourself against? Coming into an industry, it might be against a professional registration like RIT Tech. But as you specialize, you might want to use a framework like Sophia. So Sophia has 7 levels of responsibility, 102 competencies, and really covers all aspects of the IT industry. And you can see from the chart here, if you're going to have a look at Sophia, it covers business strategy, it covers projects and program management, software development, service delivery, and security. All of these are covered in the framework, and you can use this as the basis to develop your own CPD approach. So how do you recognize when you've reached competency? Well, 2 approaches. You can have very academic recognition, and the academic recognition may be something like apprenticeship completion. It may be an academic qualification. You've done your degree at university. It might be a vocational qualification that you've studied at an FE college, or it might be industry specific. And for example, the BCS has qualifications in a whole range of industry specific areas like AI, business analysis, software testing, DevOps and service management. So you can become specialist and define your competence in terms of having reached an academic reward. Or it could be through professional recognition. And that may be something like becoming MBCS. You might become a fellow of BCS or IET or any number of professional bodies. You can have proper registration as a registered IT technician, right the way through to incorporated engineer, chartered engineer, and chartership is its own category. You can receive chartership in a number of domains. So that might be engineering, it might be an IT professional, it might be as a chartered manager, or chartered project professional. These are all significant achievements through your career, and they all largely come from CPD and reflection upon your past activities. So what type of resources are available? If we just look at the range of resources you might look at, you might go for publications. I have to say my own personal CPD is very much based on publications from BCS, which are excellent range of books that talk about a whole vast variety of topics in the industry. You might do some knowledge sharing, so attending a training class, you might read a blog article, listen to a podcast, or you can go to events. Events are a very good way of doing CPD because you can have access to a whole range of different views, different experiences, and you might find new areas that you want to get involved with that you can use as the basis to start a new cycle of CPD. So conferences particularly are a very good way of finding new domains that you might want to go and explore. Or you can get involved in professional networking. As I said at the beginning, I'm chair of a BCS specialist group. There are specialist group and branches in many areas. Most professional bodies have a range of different networking opportunities, peer groups that you can join, all great for networking, and even a lot of them now available online through things like Zoom. It's a great way to be able to get up to date and stay current in your particular field. So to summarize, CPD is really about getting current and staying current. you need to find some frameworks that work for yourself or for your employer. Your organization may have adopted Sophia as a framework, may have adopted any number of competence frameworks. You may want to choose one that you want to work along yourself. So identify a framework that you want to use to help inform your CPD activities. You then need to get to a certain level of competency and demonstrate it. And that might be through a professional registration, might be through a chartership, but some form of recognition that you can share with the industry, with your peers, that shows that you've reached a certain level of maturity. And then the interesting piece begins, staying current. You've got to have a continuous approach to your learning. Good CPD is about wanting to continue to learn. It's wanting to find out more. It's wanting to challenge what you currently know and keep ahead of technology. If I go back to what I learned when I was originally studying computer science, much of that has become current technology and now has moved into a history that has now been replaced by newer technologies. And learned the core skills at the beginning, but I've had to maintain them through CPD continuously. So find a way that works for you to maintain your currency, maintain your competency. Find a review model that works for you. That might be through using a CPD tool. It might be through just thinking about, okay, so I pick a framework like Sophia. I like the look of the next level up. How can I help myself to get there? BCS has some tools like the Sophia Plus tool to help you move along that journey. But it helps you to maintain your currency. So stay current, but always think about where you want to move forward to next. And think about compliance. Think about compliance with codes of conduct. Think about the ethics. It's not just about technical skills. You can use a whole range of tools to help you think about how you want to maintain your currency. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much. Thank you for listening. And I hope you find the Virtual Skills Week a useful investment in your time. And I hope this has given you some insight into the world of CPD and what good CPD might look like. Thank you.